important for all of us to remember that we don't suck. And the reason why you actually feel like that is because that there is other people that are not understanding who you are and what you're about. And I think that that is a really important thing to remember, is that they have no clue who you are. And anybody that sort of feels like that and doesn't have any sort of, confidence in like just standing up and saying, you know what, I'm actually pretty darn good. You gotta remember that somebody else has put that in your ear. And it doesn't matter how it got there, but it's in your ear. And I just want to say, I just want to tell you, you actually are pretty remarkable and pretty amazing. And that's the thing to absolutely remember, is that I really truly don't think that, good morning. I really don't think that people naturally feel that way. So by the way, if you hear all these noises, so I'm going for a walk early in the morning. They naturally just don't feel like that. And you have to remember, somebody else has put that bug in your ear. And so for me, there's been two instances, in high school. There was so for me, it was early high school. So grade 9, 10, was a moment when there was, the quintessential story, right? Bullies in high school that sort of made me feel like I was not very good. In fact, it was probably a little longer than that. It was probably 5 years, from grade 7 to grade 10. And I did not have any friends, and it really stuck with me with who I became later on, because I learned to focus on schoolwork. That was one thing. I had this thought that if I just became a better person, quote unquote, then everybody would like me, which sort of set me up for graduate school. My undergrad, I actually did pretty well. That equation actually worked. That if I worked harder, I sort of felt direction in what I was actually doing. So the more that I worked, and I worked really hard, the better that better grades that I would get, the more direction that I would actually feel. And that actually did happen. I felt very, fulfilled in it. It was really tough, and I didn't like it, but that there was this relationship there. And then for my master's, I actually was able to complete a 2-year degree in a year, which went really quickly. And, it was very goal directed, very focused on that. And then finally in my PhD, I was going to sort of apply the same recipe. I was going to race through it and become, ultra successful and all of that kind of stuff. But it didn't happen. First of all, I really struggled with finding, an appropriate group to work with, appropriate, advisors and stuff. It took a while to figure that out. And then finally, the putting in the effort when you are in research doesn't equate often to actually getting anything out of it. And so I put in a tremendous amount of effort. I still do. Maybe I've learned to detach myself, so I don't have the same belief system anymore. I'm cold to it. I'm numb to anything in terms of it. And I just want to, so people, you might not understand this, but in the research game, You can put in as much effort as you want, but if you don't have the right, team, you don't have the right recognition, legitimacy, you don't have all of the right resources, there's nothing that you can do to, move up. Maybe in the long term, maybe that there is a sort of benefit from doing that, but in the short term, it doesn't work that way. It's really not a one-to-one relationship at all. And so frankly, I was, and I still am, a pretty broken person from it. The whole research game really, it breaks people, very much so. If you actually look at how, have conversations with people that are really in it, they won't stay in it. There's only a very few, and why it is, I don't know. Most people, almost everybody, they'll stop when they're in it at some point because it is so hard and it does break you. And so I have learned, me personally, I'm still in it, but I've learned to detach completely from anything with it. And I am repeatedly learning that, to detach. And and if the opportunity came to get an industry job that was comparable, man, I would take it in a heartbeat, I think, at this point. So it's just because of that was a real big disclosure. It's just because the game just breaks you for that. But here's the rub, though. This is the thing that is like, it's such a predicament, is because when you do it, as you've been in it longer, as you work at it, as you sort of move towards something, and you're broken, you get more recognition. And once you've been doing it for 40 years or 50 years, then you become the person, right? And so it's this like battle of this is not working versus like it does work in the very, very long run. And so you have to learn how to detach, and you have to learn how to, there's not a lot of careers that are like this. It really is not. Anybody that is in it, it's imagine that you are doing startups all of the time. And just as your startup, gets a win, you quit. And then you go on to the next thing. And then you keep doing that over and over and over again. So, the cycle time, particularly in my part of academia, it does take 5-10 years of working at something before it might even come close to hitting, like actually get accepted. My experience, I've been on the longer side, even longer than that. So that's the norm. And as soon as that quits, you've worked on this thing, as soon as it sort of gets through, you switch to the next thing. And so you always have this constant struggle. And you can see how the legitimacy might build over time, because of that. But you really have to just keep focusing on remembering that you're just a damn good person and you are remarkable. You just have to keep coming back to that who you are as a person has no correlation at all with what you've actually created and what it's actually, what you're doing. Who you are as a person is pretty amazing. And here's the challenge, is that if you're in it, people tell you all the time that you're no good and that you are, you get all sorts of things, the whole looks, the what are you talking about, all of that kind of stuff. And you have to ignore it. You have to be your person. You have to be you and know that you're actually a good person and rise above it. I'm telling you, this is the whole game. And so you have to rise above it and remember that you are pretty freaking amazing. And keep coming back to that you're far more talented than many people, but at the same time that, hey, you know what, you're a good person too, that you're willing to help out other people, and that's okay. I just want you to remember that you're just a really good person, and that you're really a lot more remarkable than you're giving yourself credit for. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.